laughed at for his worn clothes, this farmer's incredible journey revealed an amazing fortune. Jake stood in the parched fields of Willow Creek, his hands rough and calloused, testament to years of toil and heartache. The sun hung high, mercilessly beating down, and the once lush crops crunched underfoot, a whisper of what could have been. Hollow laughter echoed down the streets as shiny cars sped past, where his neighbors gleefully dashed to distant cities, mocking the overalls and sun-faded cap he wore like badges of honor. But Jake wasn't just a farmer. He was a pillar of resilience, carrying burdens not just of land, but of family and history. His father, aged and weary from age and war, often sat on the porch telling tales of courage from the Vietnam battlefield. Each account brought tears to Jake's eyes, not for the sorrow, but for the unwavering spirit of survival. His little daughter, Lily, danced around in the fields, laughter spilling like sunlight. To her, the world brimmed with magic and adventure, and together they painted dreams on the horizon of their dusty farm. But the sweltering summer brought threats, as the earth cracked beneath their feet. Crops withered, and desperation clung to their home like a persistent shadow. Jake's heart tightened with the weight of survival. Fear of losing his family gnawed at him. Weary from whispers and snickers, he took solace in his father's words and Lily's innocent joy, reminding him of the blood, sweat, and tears his family had poured into this land for generations. One fateful day reshaped their destiny. As Jake was cleaning out the rickety barn, his fingers brushed against something solid. Curiosity ignited. He pulled away old boards to unearth a hidden chest. With each creaking hinge, a legacy unfolded. Dusty letters and faded photographs. Relics of ancestors whose bravery shone brighter than any kindness or cruelty. Among the crumbling papers lay a small pouch filled with striking gold coins, shimmering back at him like a beacon of hope. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. As the harvest festival approached, excitement buzzed through Willow Creek. It was more than just a celebration. It would become the stage for Jake's story. With courage brewed from a mix of pride and desperation, he took to the town square, bearing his heart and the chest of treasures to strangers who once scoffed at his worn clothes. But amidst laughter and newfound appreciation, an undercurrent of tension flowed through the crowd. Old prejudices stirred like a disquieting wind, and the unspoken question hung above them. Who really deserved respect in this town of stark divides? Jake, with a legacy woven into his very being, stood at a crossroads between recognition and redemption. The night darkened, stars glimmering overhead, marking the moment as a pivotal chapter in Willow Creek's history. Would it bridge the gap, or push them deeper into the shadows of disdain? The choice loomed ahead, heavy and electric. The festival was alive with color and laughter as families filled the square, their voices mingling with the scents of roasted corn and homemade pies. Brightly painted stalls flanked the crowded walkway. Children whirled around with joy, their faces adorned with sticky caramel and smiles wider than the horizon. Yet, despite the gaiety, Jake could feel the lingering gazes, curious, yet judgmental. He stood before a crowd that had once turned their backs on him. The golden coins glimmered in his palm, heavy with potential, and a history that was not only his, but that of a long line of farmers, soldiers, and dreamers. His heart raced as he thought of his father, who had fought in a different war, but sacrificed just as fiercely for family and country. "Look at Jake now!" a voice called from the edge of the square. It was Bert, the town's unofficial leader, with an air of doubt still written across his face. "You think just because you're flaunting a few shiny coins, We're gonna forget how you've lived? The murmurs rippled through the crowd. Jake clenched his jaw, determination coursing through him. Just a moment before he was about to back down, he remembered Lily's laughter, the way she had spun among the wildflowers, blissful and free. In that instant, he felt her presence invigorate him. He raised his chin, letting the coins catch the fading sunlight, and spoke out. "I'm not here to flaunt," he said, his voice quiet at first before gaining momentum. "I'm here because of the land that raised me and the family which fought for it. These coins, they belong to my ancestors, proof of their sweat and sacrifice." Jake felt the energy shift. The crowd's skepticism mixed with something else, a spark of interest. Whispers transformed into exchanges of looks, a mix of curiosity and reconsideration. "You were never a fool in those clothes," someone called out, a woman with thoughtful eyes, who had always carried a casserole to the local meetings. "You've just been a good man trying to do right by your family." The ripple of support surprised him, but it was brief. Bert could easily snuff it out. "What good are shiny coins when you can't grow a crop?" Bert shot back, crossing his arms. "What good is a man who's lost everything?" Jake's heart paused. The hit landed hard. Could he really rise above the judgment? A moment hung heavy in the air, thick with doubt and fear. But then, he heard Lily, her voice painting colors across his darkest thoughts. "You know how to grow flowers, Daddy, because you are a good man." "Growing flowers," he said, as if the words were brushed from the dust. "It's not just about land, it's about heart and love. Something every one of us can cultivate." A smile cracked across his face, water on cracked earth. Among the back and forth banter, more began to nod, and a gentle clapping grew. Was he planting seeds of change? "So," he continued, speaking of family and duty, of poverty that sometimes ran deeper than coins. Painfully honest moments spilled forth, a tapestry woven from the hard work of humble soils to the laughter of his daughter. It was not just his story, it was theirs. "You want to know what these coins mean?" he challenged, the voice of defiance growing stronger. "They're a chance to build something better. For all of us. A community where we help, not scorn. Where we can rise together." The air grew electric as the crowd's heartbeat synced with his own. They saw him now, not just the farmer with worn clothes, but a man carrying their shared history. Would they come together, or retreat? Just then, a storm cloud rolled in, dark and tempestuous. Thunder rumbled, cutting through the delicate tension. Should he be worried about the rain? Or was this the prelude to a cleansing? Jake gazed at the gathered faces, each flickering with possibility and uncertainty. What would the storm bring? He inhaled deeply, ready to embrace the next chapter, whatever lay beyond those clouds. Would they unify, or would the storm break apart what he had dared to build? The first drops of rain began to fall, splattering against the cobblestones like tiny drumbeats that echoed the growing tension in Jake's chest. He wiped a hand across his brow, feeling the weight of the crowd's gaze pressing down on him, mingling with the threat of the storm. Bert shifted on his feet, and Jake could see the indecision swirling in his eyes. For a moment, the town leader's bravado faltered, as if he too felt the weight of the collective heartbeat stirring in the air. Jake's voice cut through the raindrops, strong and filled with desperate hope. "Life is full of storms," he declared, "and it's often the rain that helps us grow. We may have lost things along the way, but standing together, we have the power to rebuild." More faces in the crowd turned, eyes glimmering with possibilities as the raindrops began to fall in earnest. The smell of damp earth rose around them, fresh and familiar, echoing the cycles of life they all understood. His words caught like wildfire, and a figure from the back, a tall man known for his silence, stepped forward. "Jake's right," he said, his voice a low rumble. "I've lost too. My crops have failed. but I've learned that it's the community that helps us survive. We can grow together or drown alone. A murmur of agreement swept through the crowd, as if the raindrops were washing away years of doubt. Still facing Bert, who looked increasingly uncomfortable, Jake pressed on. If we stand together, pooling our resources, we can reclaim our land. These coins could help build a co-op, training us to support each other. A woman with deep lines around her eyes raised her hand. I've got an old barn we could transform for meetings, and my brother's grain silo could store supplies. Jake felt electricity crackle between them, their shared grief morphing into a sense of purpose. The thunder rumbling overhead mirroring their hearts as they began to imagine a future woven together like the fabric of a quilt, a patchwork of dreams and hearts stitched tightly against the elements. But just as hope began to bloom, Bert's voice cut through with cold steel. You think anyone still trusts you, Jake? After everything you've done? The money doesn't erase the past. Jake's breath hitched. He felt the sting of Bert's words, an echo that still haunted him. Could he really transform the past into something positive? I may not be the man I once was, he said, his heart pounding. But I realize now I want more than just survival. I want us to strive for greatness together. A flash of lightning illuminated the square, casting stark shadows. The crowd held their breath, the air electric with fear and anticipation. In that moment, Jake transformed, no longer just the man they labeled, but a vessel of something larger. A dream not just for himself, but for everyone who had ever felt small in a big world. Just then, a child's laughter pierced through the tension. Jake turned just in time to see Lily splash her way through puddles collecting at the edge of the square. Daddy, look, the rain's making everything shiny. Her innocent joy pulled a smile from his lips, and the way she danced around the raindrops breathed life into his heart. The moment hung suspended between them, hope's fragile thread glimmering brightly against the storm. Would this festival, once a celebration, mark the dawn of a new beginning? As the rain poured down harder, Jake could either sink under the weight or rise above it. He stepped forward, ready to let his voice be the anchor in the storm. Would the townsfolk join him, or would they choose to remain tethered to the past? The thunder rolled again, fierce and mighty. The air was thick with anticipation. What would the storm reveal? Would they bind together against it, or let the waters wash away their resolve? The storm became a roar, each clap of thunder shaking the cobblestones beneath their feet. Rain poured down heavier, drenching the crowd, yet it felt almost cleansing, like a baptism of sorts washing away fears and doubts. Jake felt it, a current flowing through them all. This was no longer just about him. It was about the community standing shoulder to shoulder as the storm raged. It wasn't just rain. It was an awakening. Can we do this together? He shouted over the sound of the downpour. His voice cracked a bit, but he didn't let that stop him. Let's put our differences aside. We can create something better. A place where we nurture our land, our families, our hope. More people stepped forward, their faces illuminated by flashes of lightning. A young woman named Rosa, known for her sharp mind, raised her voice. I've seen what we can do when we pull together. Last year we gathered for the Harvest Festival, and we filled those granaries. We've survived tough times before. This is nothing compared to what we can overcome. Yeah, shouted an older man, his hands clenched into fists. I still remember the last ice storm. We and our neighbors saved what we could. We can do it again. Bert stood still, his defiance beginning to waver amidst the roar of voices rising with strength and resolve. Jake could see the change flickering in the town leader's eyes, something akin to uncertainty. Could he really close his heart to this growing tide of unity? Jake stepped closer, his heart racing, embodying a mix of hope and trepidation. Bert, we are all human. We've all stumbled. But it's time we stop blaming each other and start lifting each other up. You see that, don't you? Don't let pride drown what we can build together. The older woman with deep lines around her eyes started to clap slowly, rhythmically. It echoed in the square, and one by one, the townsfolk joined in, chests rising with each thunderous clap of hands. It became a symphony of hope. And then, something caught Jake's eye. A shimmer in Lily's rain-soaked hair, shining bright like inspiration. She twirled in circles, her laughter ringing out like music among the storm. Jake felt a rush of emotion, a surge of determination flooding through him. If she could find joy in the rain, then surely they could all find strength together. Suddenly, Bert stepped forward, looking less like a tyrant and more like a man facing a wall of change. "Maybe," he started, voice softer than before but edged with apprehension. "Maybe I—" Before he could finish, the ground beneath them shook violently, a harsh, quaking rumble that sent shockwaves through the crowd. Gasps filled the air, eyes wide, and heartbeats quickening as they all turned to one another, a silent question flashing like lightning. What now? Jake felt a surge of fear, but tempered it with the rising chorus of voices around him. "Stay strong," he called out. "We'll face this together. No storm, literal or metaphorical, can break us if we stand united." As the rain fell around them like a curtain of cleansing water, Jake prepared himself for the aftermath of both the storm and what he hoped would soon be a changed town. They could build something amazing, but they were going to need to confront what was coming, and the challenge was just beginning. Just then, through the haze of rain and rising voices, a young girl pointed into the distance. "Look! What's happening over there?" Everyone turned, eyes widening, and Jake's heart dropped as he glimpsed a shadow moving in the darkened sky, something massive and ominous looming closer. What could this storm mean for them? Was it just the weather, or a true reckoning? The shadow grew larger, and the crowd fell silent, all eyes fixed on the encroaching darkness. Jake's heart raced as he squinted against the rain. It was unmistakable, a massive figure taking shape, as if it were stretching toward them like a giant's hand. "Everyone, stay together!" Jake shouted, pushing through the throng. The energy crackling in the air shifted from hopeful to anxious, a suspenseful pause hanging heavy. He felt a mix of fear and awe as the shape became clearer. Suddenly, in a flash of lightning, it revealed itself completely, a colossal tree. Its gnarled branches twisted like the hands of time itself, reaching far into their world. Roots protruded from the earth like fingers grasping for something lost. The tree's bark was dark, rough, but glimmered oddly in the downpour, casting a silver hue throughout the square. "What is that?" a voice murmured from the crowd. A young man standing wide-eyed next to an elderly woman who clutched her shawl tightly around her shoulders. It was a question lingering on everyone's lips. Jake moved forward, drawn by an inexplicable pull toward the tremendous tree. It's a symbol of strength," he declared, though uncertainty rippled through him. "It must mean something." Rosa stepped beside him, breathless. "Do you think it was planted here during the last storm, just like we'll grow strong through this one?" The rain continued to pour, but suddenly they weren't just soaked. They were zealous. The elimination of the distance between each person and what this tree represented reminded Jake of the very community he was fighting for. Each branch seemed to beckon the town closer, urging them toward unity, showing that even in adversity things could burst forth, beautiful and unfathomable. Bert stood now, his expression awash with wonder. "This tree should be honored," he nodded slowly. "If we're going to pull this community back together, we must look after it. It's powerful." The authority in his voice had softened, no longer filled with iron-fisted resolve, but layered with the humility of newfound recognition. A new spirit surged through the crowd as they began to murmur and circulate around the incredible sight before them. Jake turned to look at Lily, and she smiled through her drenched hair, eyes sparkling. "We can build the town we want," she said, holding his gaze with an unspoken promise. As the tempest raged on, the townsfolk started to gather around the tree, hands reaching out to touch its rugged bark. "Let's plant more. Let's nurture," muttered an older farmer, emboldened by the atmosphere. Voices rose and fell around Jake. They spoke of community gardens, shared harvests, of providing for each other and protecting what they loved. Jake's heart swelled as they began to strategize about not just saving their homes, but creating a vibrant future. As hope cascaded, he could almost hear the heartbeat of the town reflected in the pulse of the storm itself. But just then, a crack split the air, louder than before. The ground shook again, a deep rumble reverberating from deep below. Faces turned white with dread, and Jake felt the energy shift once more. "What is it this time?" someone gasped. Their eyes darted back to the tree, and there, where the roots melded with the ground, something was stirring. A faint glow began to radiate from the earth, pulsating like a heartbeat. "What's hidden in the roots of that tree?" Jake whispered. His curiosity ignited, a chill sliding down his spine. He took a step closer, heart pounding with both fear and anticipation. Was the tree hiding something more than a message of hope? What secrets would they uncover in the depths of their community's past? The glow intensified, pulsing with a rhythm that matched the throbbing in Jake's chest. As he leaned closer, he realized the light was emerging from the tangled roots, casting an otherworldly luminescence across the faces of the townspeople. Whispers of worry mingled with awe, an electric undercurrent sparking through the group. "What is that?" Lily shouted above the roar of the storm, eyes wide, filled with wonder. "I don't know, but we should find out. We can't just stand here," Jake urged, stepping further into the circle that had formed around the tree. He felt that heavy weight of responsibility settle around his shoulders again, pushing him forward. With every heartbeat, the glow flickered more brightly. People began to inch closer, curiosity overcoming fear. Children clutched their parents' hands while elders squinted at the vibrant display. They were captivated, the storm fading to the background as their focus zeroed in on the mysterious light. Bert, taking a deep breath, moved to Jake's side. "Let's dig it out," he said, his voice steady. The thunder rumbled in agreement, a low growl in the distance. "If something is hidden in those roots, we need to know what it is. It could help us." A renewed sense of purpose united the crowd. Shovels and tools that had been hastily abandoned during the storm were retrieved. Jake grabbed a rusted shovel, echoing the energy of the transformation happening within the crowd. He could see it in every face. The fear was giving way to determination. As they worked together, Jake's heart raced. He caught snippets of conversations. A woman discussing how the tree might provide shade for children's picnics. An old man dreaming of a place to share stories in its embrace. With each scoop of soil, they weren't just uncovering treasures from the earth. They were unearthing memories, hopes, and dreams for a better future. It wasn't long before their efforts bore fruit. A dark stone caught the light. A smooth, oval-shaped object glimmering with an iridescent sheen nestled among the roots. The crowd hushed, anticipation hanging thick in the air. Jake knelt and gently brushed the soil away, revealing the stone's surface. It sparkled like starlight against the rain-soaked ground. "Is it a precious gem, or just a rock?" someone asked tentatively. "I don't know," Jake replied, his fingers tracing the curves of the stone. "But it feels important." Tentatively, he lifted it, and just as he did, the glow radiated outward like ripples in water. The air hummed with warmth, and Jake felt a wave of energy sweep through him, as if the tree itself was sharing its strength. "What does this mean?" Rosa finally asked, her voice a mixture of wonder and concern. "I think it means we're on the brink of something big," Jake said, turning to face the nervous faces around him. "This could be a symbol of resilience, of unity. Whatever we find here, it's more than just a stone. It's proof that we have the power to change our story." The weight of his words settled over the crowd, stirring a symphony of emotions, hope intertwined with uncertainty. The rain still poured, but for the first time, they all felt the warmth of a shared purpose in their hearts, fueling the fire to forge ahead. As the townspeople rallied behind him, inspired and ready to explore the meaning of their discovery, a distant echo filled the air, a voice rising above the storm. Together, we can uncover our past and shape our future. It was Bert, his fierce spirit igniting those around him. Jake felt a tremor beneath their feet, the very ground seeming to respond to their collective resolve. They could feel it, a transformation in the air. Yet another mystery was building, something deeper than what lay before their eyes. What lies ahead? Jake thought, feeling the stone's warmth pulse in his hand. Knowing their journey was only just beginning, the energy in the air crackled, mingling with the rain-soaked earth and the dampness of the storm. Jake held the stone tightly, and as he did, the glow pulsed brighter, casting elongated shadows over the faces of his friends and neighbors. The warmth from the stone was comforting, enveloping him in an embrace that felt both foreign and familiar. "Do you feel that?" Rosa shouted over the wind, her face alive with excitement. The others nodded, sensing the change around them. Their fears began to dissolve into the wind, replaced by a growing anticipation. Bert stepped forward, his curiosity bubbling. What if there's more to this? Maybe the whole tree has secrets we haven't uncovered. Jake's heart raced at the idea. What if the tree was a guardian, holding pieces of their past? As thoughts raced through his mind, he recalled stories his grandmother had told him about the tree, how it had protected the town during storms and served as a meeting place for generations. He turned to the crowd. What if we're not just digging for a stone, but for something greater? Our legacy? The murmurs grew louder as people processed his words. They began to dig more energetically, a rhythm developing as the shovel blades clanked against the dirt. With each scoop, the storm rumbled overhead, but now it sounded more like a chorus of agreement than a threat. Hours passed, but time felt unimportant. The glow from the stone had drawn the community together, their individual fears transforming into a unified heartbeat. Suddenly a loud crack echoed. A branch nearby snapped under the weight of rain, startling everyone. "What was that?" a young boy asked, wide-eyed. "Young boy, it's just nature, buddy," someone replied, but they all knew it felt like a warning. Jake's gaze shifted toward the tree, and for a brief moment, he thought he saw something shift within the roots. The flickering light seemed to call to him, tugging at his very being. "Let's focus," he urged, gripping the stone firmly in his fingers. "We can't back down now. We're so close." They finished digging a larger hole, the earth yielding easily. And there it was, another glimmering object caught in the roots. A second stone, larger and more intricate, more radiant than the first. The light bounced across everyone's faces, igniting wonder and disbelief. Bert leaned down, eyes wide. "Jake, I think it's alive." His voice trembled with awe, and Jake felt it too. A pulse, a heartbeat, a connection that felt like it transcended time. As they pulled the stone free, a wave of energy surged through the air, making everyone gasp. The storm seemed to quiet, as if the world was holding its breath. Jake could feel the rhythm of something ancient and powerful. "What does it all mean?" Lily whispered, stepping closer. "I don't know," Jake admitted, his eyes now locked onto the glimmering stone. But it felt like a door was opening, a chance to rewrite their fate, to connect with their roots, not just in the soil, but in spirit. Then came the sound, a low hum resonating deep within, growing louder, wrapping around them like a warm blanket. It seemed to unify the group, pulling them into a collective experience that was exhilarating and terrifying. "What's happening?" someone shouted, panic creeping in. Jake raised his voice. "We need to trust it. Let it guide us." As they joined hands, the stones illuminated brighter than ever. He could feel their fears merging with excitement, shaking him to his core. They were standing on the precipice of discovery, the storm retreating as if it sensed their strength. And then, silence fell. The ground trembled again, and Jake felt the stones vibrate in his hands. A single word echoed in the depths of his thoughts, strong and clear. Awaken. The shadows faded, replaced by a blinding light. And just like that, everything changed. What had they awakened? What truly lay ahead as the storm cleared? Jake's heart raced. The journey was just beginning, and the stakes were higher than he ever imagined. The blinding light enveloped them, a wave of warmth and energy washing over the group. Jake felt himself being pulled into a vision, not just of the tree, but of all the lives it had touched throughout the years. The faces of those who had gathered around it flickered before him, showing families who had celebrated together, lovers who had carved their names into its bark, and children who had found shelter beneath its branches during storms. "Do you see it?" Rosa breathed, eyes wide with wonder. Jake nodded, speechless as images flickered above them like a theater screen, revealing the tree's hidden history. Each flash made the world around them seem more vibrant, more alive, and he could feel the heartbeat of the earth beneath his feet, pulsing in sync with the stones. As the visions faded, the air thickened again with something new, an urgency, a whisper of danger. "What does this mean?" Bert asked, confusion lacing his voice. "Are we supposed to protect it? To guard this light?" Jake struck the ground lightly with his foot, gazing into the distance where the shadows should have been, but now loomed ominously. Maybe it's both. We've awakened something that wants to be seen. But now, we have to decide how to use it. A low rumble echoed, but it wasn't thunder. It felt like the very roots of the tree groaned, reaching out for guidance. Suddenly, darkness began to seep toward them, coiling and curling like smoke, alive and restless. The group instinctively huddled closer, hands clasped tighter, the second stone pulsing in Jake's grip. It felt like a lifeline, a covenant with the earth and the people beside him. "Stay together," Jake shouted above the rising wind, his heart pounding. The whispers of the tree wrapped around his senses, guiding him. "We need to focus on the light. It brought us here. It can protect us." He concentrated, pouring his will into the stone. The glow intensified, illuminating their faces with an ethereal light. Each person there felt a shift. Fear was being channeled, turned into something fierce. They were igniting courage, forming a collective shield around them. Rosa stepped forward, her voice ethereal yet strong. "If we're meant to protect this, whatever it is, we need to understand it." As she spoke, tendrils of light broke free from the stones, swirling around them in a radiant dance. Bright enough to repel the darkness, Jake marveled at how fear had transformed into determination. It was a miracle, a testament to their bond and the history rooted in that ancient tree. Then, a voice, deep and resonant, echoed in their minds. "You have awakened the essence that lies beneath. Rise to your purpose." It was so powerful that it resonated through their bones, shaking off remnants of doubt. "What is our purpose?" Lily asked, her brow furrowing. "Every tree has a story," Jake murmured, hypnotized by the light. "Ours is about to be revealed." The winds howled, twisting their words into an uncertainty he didn't want to accept. A great shadow loomed above them, a creature formed from the dark energy trying to claw back. But with the power of their unity, they stood strong. As they readied themselves for what would come, a sense of exhilaration filled Jake, the charge of destiny thrumming at his fingertips. What were they meant to discover? Could they truly harness this power against the creeping darkness? With their hearts intertwined but trembling, they stood at the edge of an uncharted future. And as the next storm brewed on the horizon, answering questions loomed large. What awaited them, and could they rise to face it together? The swirling shadows thickened, wrapping around the group like a dark fog. The tendrils of light from the stones pulsed brighter, clashing with the encroaching gloom. Jake's heart raced as he sensed the urgency of their situation. This was no ordinary challenge. The lives woven into the mighty tree filled his head with echoes of hope and determination. "Jake!" Rosa shouted, her voice straining as the wind whipped around them. "What do we do?" He swallowed hard, piecing together the fragments of the visions. "We fight for what this tree represents. We defend its legacy." The words felt charged with a power he did not know he possessed. As shadows writhed closer, he felt the weight of responsibility rest upon his shoulders. Each member of his group stood resolute, eyes wide with shared determination. Bert squeezed Jake's shoulder, a silent reminder that they were in this together. The creature formed of darkness lunged, a mass of swirling shadows with malicious intent. With a spark of inspiration, Jake directed the light from his stone toward the creature. The brilliance illuminated its jagged edges, causing it to recoil, hissing as if wounded. "Keep pushing," Lily urged, her voice cutting through the storm. She directed her light towards a nearby cluster of shadows, casting them aside like dust. "This is our home too. We won't let it take over." Moments passed, feeling like an eternity. Each pulse of light sent reverberations through the ground, resonating with the heartbeat of the earth. The glow of unity surged like a wave, and with every flash, doubt was banished further behind them. "Channel your fear!" Jake shouted, feeling the energy gather in his chest, almost overwhelming. "Let it fuel your light! Together!" The air around them crackled with power. Rosa lifted her stone, and beams of light intertwined, creating a thick shield against the creeping dark. Laughter bubbled from Jake's lips, bursting forth like spring blossoms after a long winter. They could beat it. The shadow didn't stand a chance against their resolve. But then, an unsettling chill washed over him. A sudden surge of doubt flooded back. What if this is just a momentary reprieve? He thought. What if we lose ourselves in the fight? Rosa must have sensed his turmoil. She glanced at him, eyes fierce. Fear is just part of it, Jake. It's what makes our light stronger. Her voice reassured him, pushing him to remember the pulse of the tree, the lives connected beneath its branches. With those words, the group united in a single heartbeat, eyes locking, hands clasped in resolute determination. The light exploded outward, streaming brighter and brighter, illuminating the darkness in vivid colors, painting the shadows as nothing but a cloak of fear. The creature screeched, a sound that pierced the night air, but it was drowning. The energy of their combined hope consumed it, a radiant display of colors swirling around, elevating them all higher. It was as if the tree itself had joined their fight, ancient roots pulling strength from the past and feeding it into their courage. Then, everything stopped. The glowing light dimmed slightly, and the shadows receded, leaving the group standing in a circle of warmth and resolve. Jake breathed hard, exhilaration mingling with exhaustion. Was that it? Did we do it? The vibration from the stones beneath their feet thrummed again. It felt different now, less frantic and more like a summons. A collective gasp arose from the group. The tree, majestic and ancient, shimmered in the moonlight as if responding to their victory. "What's happening?" Bert asked, stepping forward cautiously. The answer still hung heavy in the air, unformed yet palpable. They had faced the darkness together. But what awaited them now? As the tree seemed to whisper to them, Jake felt the pulse of destiny once more, brewing within the very roots beneath him. The next chapter of their adventure was just beginning, and he couldn't shake the feeling that this was only the start of something much bigger. Could they uncover the deeper secrets the tree held? Or would the darkness return, more powerful than before? Jake stood at the heart of the townsfolk gathered around the ancient tree, the pulse of their combined energy rippling like a living thing in the air. The storm had receded, the dark shadows retreating, but the air still buzzed with a sense of urgency, a promise of revelations yet to come. He glanced around at the faces illuminated by the glow of the stones they had unearthed, feeling the weight of hope and determination hanging thick between them. Together, we stood against darkness, he began, his voice steady but full of emotion. But it's now that our true journey begins. We have awakened not just a legacy, but a strength forged from our bonds, our shared histories. The vibrations around him responded, and he could feel the roots of the great tree stretching beneath them, reminding them all of the interconnectedness that had flourished through the ages. A sudden rustle among the crowd drew their attention back to the tree, its bark shimmering, as if it were alive. Jake felt a pull in his chest, beckoning him closer. What lies beneath us? What lessons can this tree teach? He stepped forward, urging the others to follow, curiosity driving them onward. As they approached the trunk, intricate carvings became visible. They told stories of struggle, of tenacity, and of love shared through generations. "Look!" Lily exclaimed, darting ahead, brushing her tiny fingers over the carvings. "These are our stories. See, there's the harvest festival, and our families gathered together." "A celebration of life and unity," Rosa added, entranced. "We have always been more than just our struggles." Jake felt a warmth swell within him. These were reminders that they were more than mere individuals facing hardship. They were a community entwined in a heritage rich with hope and resilience. It struck him then. The light they had nurtured together was not just a defense. It was a living legacy that had been dormant, waiting to be rediscovered. "We need to share this," Jake declared, turning to the people gathered around him. "Let's make our stories known to everyone. Each of us has endured pain, but together we can paint a new future." A wave of encouragement surged through them, but suddenly the shadows crept back, threatening to encroach once again. "But what if the darkness returns?" Bert asked, a hint of worry creeping through as he surveyed the horizon, where the storm clouds had settled in the distance. Jake took a deep breath, recognition dawning on him. "We won't fight against it alone. Our past is the armor we need. Let's host gatherings, teach our children our stories, show them what strength means." A murmur of agreement spread through the crowd, faces lighting up with newfound conviction. The tree stood watch, silent but radiating promise, as Jake envisioned the future they could forge. "Let's tend these roots, grow our crops together, support each other in times of trouble, and celebrate each success." "Let's restore this land," someone shouted, and the crowd erupted in cheers. They began making plans to establish a community co-op that would not only sustain them, but empower their resilience in the face of adversity. Every neighbor's story would be woven together like a tapestry, each thread a reminder of who they were, standing tall like the enormous tree that held witness to everything they had overcome. As the dusk settled in, stars began to twinkle overhead, shimmering like the golden coins that had once signaled change. But the real treasure lay beneath them, in their hearts, in their pride, in their shared history. "We can grow," Jake shouted, the enthusiasm in his voice met with roars of approval. "No storm can turn us against one another when we cultivate what connects us." With the town united, Jake felt a surge of adrenaline, knowing this was only the beginning. They left the shadows behind, stepping into this new chapter with their heads held high, ready to embrace whatever lay ahead. And as the first sparks of fireworks ignited in the night sky, illuminating the tree that had guided their path, it marked the dawn of a deeper understanding, a vibrant promise of unity that would carry them through every storm, hand in hand, towards a brighter future. Now is the moment to show your support. You need to subscribe immediately to the channel to not miss the next exclusive stories. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and keep our community thriving. I want to hear your reactions and feelings about this ending, so comment below. And don't wait, not even one more second. Share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation.